This is the Chicago Golf Report podcast, hosted by Walter Liss. Today's guest is Rick Edwards, owner of Fairways Indoor Golf Center.
So, Rick, tell me a little bit about your new project, Fairways Indoor Golf Center in South Holland. How did the idea come about?
Well, how long is our conversation today, Walter?
I guess broad strokes.
Broad strokes. Well, my wife and I, we've been living in the south suburbs for quite some time now, and my wife has had a really successful fitness business, and had it for going on 6 years now, and certainly she was kind enough to bring me into the fold. She's a fitness nut, which is great, and she focused on essentially focused on people who are vastly overweight. So that particular kind of a niche has been just really a wonderful thing, and there's been a lot of success stories across the way along the years. And I think I had over 45 people lose 100 pounds naturally, and it was something that she was passionate about. So years ago, I agreed to go into business with her with that. And she and I were driving around, and where we live, we live in a middle class community, primarily African American in the south suburbs of Chicago. And then, like those places, you want to go to someplace nice. Sometimes you got to leave your community to go, right? So I live in a concentrated area of golf courses. There's like 14 within a 4 mile radius, and 3 of them are private. But obviously in Chicago and in the Midwest, we have crappy weather. So my wife was like, you have done enough to support me for the years. What do you want to do? And I was like, well, when I grow up, I want to be able to play golf anytime I want to play golf. So in Chicagoland area, we can really only play golf really 4.5 months, 5 months. And then weather gets crappy real quick. So we already had a business here in our suburb, and I decided to open up another one here and just did the homework, and we started from there.
So one of the things that's interesting about the business plan with Fairways Indoor Golf is its membership. You're going to have members. Can you describe how you came to that idea? What was the premise behind it?
Well, the wonderful thing about the Chicagoland Fat Loss Camps is my wife's in my business, but we are primarily membership as well, but we do walk in. And at the end of the day, I wanted it to be more of a controlled environment. And golfers, I don't know if you are a golfer, Walter, but I wanted to have the golf experience as much as you possibly could, except indoors. And as you know, when you go play golf, there's a tee time, there's membership in some places, at private courses, right? And there's always etiquette accompanied with that. So for us, it was about controlling who comes, because the place is not a big place. Our first place is not a large place at all. But we also wanted to be able to determine how many members we get, and that's connected to projected revenue costs, being able to forecast that, the level of memberships, starting at the level of highest is Eagle and the lowest is Bogey. That'll allow people to come as, the more you pay, the more you come. The lesser you pay, the lesser you come, right? But everybody would have the same great experience regardless of the amount of money that they pay. But don't let me be clear though. Although we're primarily membership, we do accept guests, because you may have a family member or a friend coming in town and they play golf, and you're like, hey man, I want you to come check this place out that I go to, I have a membership at. They can come with you as well.
So I guess that's a very interesting part of the philosophy, like you said, because it's an interesting place that you're in. Like you said, you've got all these golf courses near South Holland. There's a tremendous history there too. One of the things that kind of stands out to me is the fact that 2023 is a big year. In fact, where the BMW Championship coming back to Olympia Fields, not that far away from South Holland. What's your take on kind of the marketplace as far as, I would assume that you saw this upswell, like, oh, I think I know enough golfers that this might be a good idea to move forward.
There is, I did the research in my business plan. There is a projected over 18,000 potential golfers. And I did the radius on, there's 8 to 10 suburbs connected to each other in terms of like 5 minutes away, 10 minutes away, that kind of a thing.
Mhm.
And I said the majority of those golfers are not in a position to, one, have a simulator in their house, number one. They're not cheap to do. You could do it in a cheap way, but they're not like anything like we have. And a lot of golfers can't afford to go out of town and golf, right? So for us, it was a need that was there, and it's certainly a niche. Now, in terms of the upswell and simulator golf facilities, I call them golf recreational, bar and grills. There's a ton of those things popping up that are Top Golf like, although Top Golf is outside, but the experience is kind of the same. But for me, it was more focusing on those people like myself who are serious golfers. Although I'm not a scratch golfer, I just love the game. I love to play and I love to learn. So for me, it was just bringing something to bear that you wouldn't hear loud music playing in the background with people serving food and kids running around. Golfers golf. And for those of us who want to get better, we need kind of a place where we can just kind of be left alone for an hour or two, get our game on, get our swings in, focus on our technique, and then get out of there.
Yes. And the other part too, like you had said too, that, and this makes complete sense, is that a lot of times these, especially all these new golf simulator businesses, there's like the golf recreation component, there's the food, there's the drinking, there's the kind of spending that time. Do you see Fairways as being more of a place where you go to work on your game or practice and socialize, or both, or what's the vibe that you want to have?
Well, it is absolutely a practice-based facility. And while you could, it's non-alcohol, unless we had an event of some kind. You can certainly bring something to eat in, a snack with you. You know what I mean? There's a vending machine that's in our location. There's a coffee station that's in our location. So if you want to bring a snack in, while you're playing, you can do that. You can certainly bring something to drink in. But obviously the alcohol is a kind of a two thing. Our suburb that we're in is a dry suburb that we're located in, but also the drinking thing. You've seen guys who are, I don't know if you've been on a golf course. There's always those guys who overdo everything, right? Mm-hmm. So, and everybody doesn't carry their liquor well. You know what I mean? So, unless they want to own a simulator, right? No alcohol allowed. So we want to stay out of the entertainment-based recreational food and drink space, because at the end of the day, there's people who, unlike myself, who just is a guy and his partner who put their savings into this thing. We can't keep up with places that put millions of dollars behind making a bar and grill and then having a golfing component. It kind of reminds me of what bowling alleys used to be, right? Go bowling, but there's food and there's drink. Now I think it's kind of simulator that's taken over. But serious golfers want a serious environment, and that's something that I wanted to create.
Yeah, that's really interesting, because there's a couple things to this. Like when you talk about the golf simulator business, obviously booming. We're at, I think the list that we have on the website now, there's 57 in the Chicagoland area. There's kind of standalone golf simulator business, not even the outside, not even a Top Golf. Yeah. So the market is obviously there. There's a huge market, and like in your area, there's a couple. There's one in Mokina, there's one in Tinley Park. I don't think there's very many near South Holland, like you said. And then the approach that you're taking, where it's for serious golfers, it's this membership driven kind of format that you're going with, is certainly making it unique. So I think you're spot on in terms of the opportunity here. And then it's just a matter, I guess, of attracting new golfers. Like what's the hope, and what your thought? Because that's part of your background, right? You've been in marketing for a long time. What are some thoughts in terms of how to build this?
Wow, man. So it's kind of a thing, right? Because it's kind of like deja vu. When my wife and I did our business together almost 6 years ago, we knew that it was a need, right? But at the end of the day, how do you break all the clutter? And sales is certainly a part of it, right? You have a service to sell, a product to sell, but you still have to deal with brand awareness. And if you can give away $1 million a day. I say it all the time. If you give away $1 million a day and nobody knows about you, guess what? You just have $1 million stacked up because nobody knows about you. So it's weird, right? Because it's a part of me wishes, man, I wish I was that guy who just had money. You know what I mean? Because I could have done it. I could have just put the brand out there, just driven a brand and driven awareness. And then start focusing on the sale of this thing and the message behind this thing. It's kind of like I would hope that it would be, Walter, like Cheers. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I really want it to be kind of like Cheers. Everybody knows your name. And and there's only so many people that can fit in our facility. My wife is a phenomenal numbers person, and every facility that we build in terms of the model that we have, and this model, I call it a lounge, and not because of alcohol, but just because it's smaller in nature. There's only so many simulators will be. This is the smallest of one, and there'll be others to come, Walter, by the way. We're already trying to work on our second location right now. And that particular place will have 5 to 6 simulator bays in it. And that will more than likely be their largest amount of bays that's in a lounge. But as you were saying, in terms of, how do we get there? I think our membership maxed out, I think, is maybe 325 people. But I keep thinking it's either 325 or 235 at this location, because it's only so many bays and so many hours in the day. And that's kind of it. We hoping that it would be the party that you want to get into that's a wait list. That's what we're hoping. So right now, we're in that getting out there and getting information out there. I know a ton of golfers. I play with a lot of guys. I know guys who are in leagues. I'm not in the league. And right now, we're just trying to get the information out there. We think we have something of great value. We think our price point is nominal across the country in terms of what people are charging per hour to be in a simulator bay. And then we have phenomenal discounts as well. So we think, and what's the funny thing about it is that aside from having a beautiful bay that's in your house that you did, from scratch and custom, we think our space, although it's in an industrial kind of a commercial spot, is a dynamically beautiful, relaxing place to be. It's not retail at all, but I think we've done a good job with people walking in and not feeling like they're getting oversold and under-delivered on.
Sure. Yeah, there's the thought on that, like you were just talking about, is that, at least from my perspective, when I work out, I like to go work out at a facility not too far from me with other people, because there's energy and there's the focus. So I think that's probably one of the other things too, is that, like you said, that community, especially members, people are going to learn each other. They're going to develop these friendships that's hard to develop nowadays. And your facility could be a great catalyst for that.
Somebody said something, and I absolutely agree with that. The funny thing about golfers is that just like you go outside to play outside, and you may come up and somebody was like, hey, I want to play 18 or play 9. And the group before you may be short. And it always be that guy, right, who's scheduling everybody to get on the course to say, hey, you guys, no, he won't even say, hey, would you? He was like, hey, I'm going to put you together, right? These 2 other guys, and you can play a foursome. And you can play with strangers, and by the time you're in, you're friends, right? Because it's all about golf. So the wonderful thing about our intimate environment is that it's going to be the same kind of situation, whether you're male or female. They'll get in, and you'll hear people cussing at the screen and, and laughing and joking and teasing each other as groups come by or if individuals come by, and they'll develop relationships.
Yeah, I think that the other thing I think about too is even though there's this boom in golf simulators, and now the price of golf simulators has certainly come down. I think the main thing, and this is something that I run into, is with the space that I have in my house, I don't have enough space to have a proper simulator. You need a certain amount of space forward, behind, above, obviously for the swing path. I think that's another thing that, at least right now, and I'm sure over the years, things will change as people, kind of want to have more golf simulators in their homes, but you do need a certain amount of space in order to make this happen. And unfortunately for a lot of us, it's not feasible right now.
Yeah, the only place you actually have is the garage, right? That's the garage is wide enough and it's tall enough. But, if you're married, good luck with that, right? You're like, I'm going to run into a simulator pulling a car into the garage, right? So, fortunately, we don't have a space right now where we are, although we do have a garage, but, as I said, in Chicago, right? If you got a decent enough car or whatever, you want to have your car in the garage in the wintertime.
Sure. So, Rick, I think there was one thing you mentioned about potentially opportunity to work with the First Tee. Is that something that you're
Yeah.
working on? What's that look like?
Walter, it is done. A part of my team, one of my closest friends, golf friends, I've been knowing her, gosh, man, at least 15, 16 years. She's a phenomenal golfer. She's an instructor. I think she's a program director with First Tee of Chicago. And she has the whole Southern region. And her name is Erica Birdie Shavers. Ever since I thought about this, when I was working on the business plan way back last summer, I had a group of people that I wanted to have on my team, and there was at least 5 of us. But she was the subject matter expert, and she's always my ringer when I go play a foursome outside if I can get her. But nobody knows that. But she is. Once I told her about what I was doing, she was like, "I don't know what to tell you other than when can I come?" And I knew that. Dealing with little kids and having an opportunity for kids to be involved in golf with some nature was going to be the thing that I wanted to do at some point, but I didn't know her role with First Tee. I just thought she volunteered. No, she actually works for them. So they have a ton of places. They got stuff that's happening on the north side where they can go play, and there's a guy that's over it on the north side, and she was handling the kids out south at Harborside. They were at the Harborside. They've been at Glen Woody outside, but they didn't have any place inside. And when I developed this place, she's like, "Can we come? Can we be there?" And I said, "Absolutely." So we have literally formalized our relationship with First Tee. It's a win-win-win-win for us because obviously First Tee is national, a nonprofit national organization, and the brand that they have is phenomenal. And being associated with them, you cannot pay enough for that. You know what I mean? So their sticker is on our door now, and they have an allotted times a week they're going to be there, and she's going to be there with the kids, and we're excited about it.